So, in your mobile phone, you guys must have seen that while using different kind of applications, you do have a small icon on the right hand side bottom corner of your phone. Okay. So there you might have some option, let's say of adding something, or you might have an option of hello everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the Flutter tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 11, where we'll be creating a floating action button in Flutter. Okay, so we're gonna learn how you can create a floating action button in Flutter. In our last class, we do have learned about the app bar. So inside the scaffold, how you will be able to add a floating action button. And what is a floating action button, we're going to learn over here if you don't have any idea about that. So let's not waste much time and let's get started. So in your mobile phone, you guys must have seen that while using different kind of applications, you do have a small icon on the right hand side bottom corner of your phone. Okay. So there you might have some option, let's say of adding something, or you might have an option of tick. Okay. There can be any icon as such. So this is basically known as the floating action button. And the floating action button is mostly placed at the right bottom corner of the application by default. Okay. So by default, it is basically present at the right bottom corner in most of the time. And it also floats over the content at a fixed place. Okay. So let's say your particular application have something inside that particular application. Okay, they do have some text and stuff. Okay, but over here, what happens is in case of the floating action button, it stays elevated or it stays on top. Okay, so it stays on top or at a fixed place, and anything underneath that, once it comes over it, you won't be able to see it because you have the floating action button just on top of your screen, a bit elevated. Okay, so now let's see how you guys are going to create a floating action button inside your application. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see now, again, I'm in the same application in which I was working on. Okay. So this is basically the app bar in which we guys were working. So now if you do want to minimize this to just make your workspace look a bit more cleaner, what I can do is I will just minimize my app bar. Okay. So as you guys can see, once you minimize, it is going to look quite like this. And after that, if I just click on enter, and over here, I can basically add the floating action button. Okay. So I can just type small cap floating action button right over here. And now inside the floating action button, I also do need to use another floating action button widget class. Okay. So for that, now again, I'm going to type a floating action button. Okay. And once you have done this one, okay, the floating action button, I'm just going to delete this onPressed action, and I'm gonna click on enter. And once I click on enter, now I have to put all the characteristics that I basically do want in my floating action toolbar or floating action button. Okay. So firstly, I need to make sure that what is the level of elevation am I looking for? Okay. So I'll just type on elevation. And for elevation, I will just go with 15. And now let's click on enter. And after clicking on enter, the next thing is that I will add a particular option known as child. Okay. So what does this particular widget do? So you will have a floating action button, but it will just be a small circle, right? But inside your floating action button, if you do want to put any kind of icon, how you are going to do that. Okay. So for that, now after writing child, we already know that how you guys are basically going to put out the icon. Okay. So first I have to mention icon. Okay. And after that, I will just open parenthesis and now I will just type icon, and if you just click on dot, here you guys can see there are lot of these options which can be used inside your action bar. Okay, so all these options. Okay, so I will just use this add underscore circle. Okay, so now let's see how my action tool or floating action bar looks like. Let's go with the Flutter hot reload. And here you guys can basically see that it is not giving me any answer yet. Okay, required name parameter on press must be provided. Okay, so I will just show you guys once I'm done putting all the parameters that I should put over here. So I hope you guys have understood about elevation. You guys have understood about the child parameter as well. And the next thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose out the background color of your floating action button as well. Okay, so I will just go with background color. As the background color of my app bar is this kind of red, maybe I will just go with blue. Okay. So for that, you already know that you have to type on colors, and once you click on dot, here you guys can see there I do have a lot of options. Okay. So if I just go with indigo, indigo also goes on very well. Now let's click on enter, and now I am going to put out some action once I click on this particular button. Okay, so I need to make sure that I put on this. Okay, so let's come right over here. So floating action button over here, this particular class, and next class is the floating action button. Okay, so floating action button right over here as well. So let's come here. So now manually right over here, let's type onPressed. Okay, so this is a void function. And after writing onPressed, I will just open parenthesis. And after that, I will just open up my curly braces. Okay, so let's open up the curly braces. Now let's click on enter. And you guys have already known that how you are going to add auto action. So in our last class, you have seen that how did I basically add a snack bar. Okay, so over here, I am also going to show some messages. So for that, the first thing what I need to do is I need to call the function that I created right over here on top under the home activity class. Okay, so the name of my function is my message. Okay, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type my message. Okay. So over here, I do have my message. And after that, I'm going to type the message. So let's open out the double quote and I will just type this is the floating action button. Okay. So I'll just add this one up. Let's put out exclamation mark. And here you guys can see what is basically the context. Let's close this down with semicolon. Okay. And you guys can see once pressed, it will show me or it will run my message function and it will show me this is the floating action button and this is basically the context. Okay. So that's how you guys can actually create a floating action button. And now once I click on Control S, you guys can see this is how it looks. Okay. So the color doesn't look that great. So in that case, what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to change the color. So let me just go with red. Okay, so I will just go with the pure red and again Control S to save it. And this one looks a lot better than the previous one. So if you want to change the icon as well, you guys can do so. And now let's take that. If I just press on this particular floating action button, will it show me the message which I have put on press action button. Okay, so if I just come here and if I just click here, it shows that this is the floating action button and then it basically disappears. So it was quite successful that we have learned about the floating action button of how it actually works. So now let's go back and let's see what all we have learned. So first we have learned that how you will be able to add the class of floating action button. And once you have clicked or once you have created the class over here, I have actually mentioned different parameters that you should include inside your floating action toolbar. So first is the elevation, like how much elevated do you want your floating action button to be. The next point is the child. So basically that is what kind of icon that you want to put inside your floating action toolbar. You guys can choose it after writing icons dot, then choose accordingly. And also you guys can select the background color of your floating action toolbar. And lastly, once you have created the floating action toolbar, you need to make sure to put out action to it. Okay, so if you want to put the SnackBar content or any kind of messages regarding that, how you will be able to do so. So yeah, now in our next class, we are going to learn about the navigation or the bottom tab navigation. Okay, so if I just go to Canva, so I have showed you guys in the scaffold class about this particular diagram. So basically we have learned about the app bar, we have learned about the action floating action button, and we are going to learn about the bottom tab navigation right over here. So individually we are going to cover try to cover each and everything which basically occupy the whole screen of the device. So I hope to see you all in the next. Till then, take care and goodbye everyone.